just because men don't show up as much when we search up self-care, maybe you could be the man, you could be the person who makes a difference and can role model self-care and show that, hey, self-care is a very masculine thing. Looking after your body, getting fit, being able to connect with other people, that could be a positive, healthy model of masculinity that you can help role model and kind of shift the tides bit by bit for what society sees as self-care being for men.
Did you know that on average, people only spend 15 minutes a day on health-related self-care? Well, today in this video, we are going to talk about self-care. And to talk about self-care, I brought in a professional. And I've got a question recently about self-care. And it said how to find balance for better self-care, as well as ways to create supportive environment for self-care. Hi, my name is Emmanuel. Welcome to the SelfSeed podcast. In this episode, I have Rosanna Ho with me, who is a certified hypnotherapist, a RTT expert. And today we're going to be talking about self-care. We're going to talk about what is self-care, how to practice self-care, the benefits of self-care, and the mindset of self-care, and how to incorporate self-care into our routines. Because we know that self-care is proven to reduce stress and anxiety levels while increasing self-compassion. So join me, and as we go down the road of understanding self-care and how to practice it, I hope you will find this video useful. And this podcast episode is brought to you by Aussie Outdoor Products Company Limited. And at Aussie, we have a service that is specifically tailored to wellness, where we have wellness workshops and we also have wellness assessment. So be sure to head on to www.aussiegroup.com to see which session or which service perfectly fits your wellness needs. Welcome back. And we have Rosanna with us already. She's here ready to share some tips and tricks, some better knowledge. She's always having a knowledge to share with us. And yeah, I'm excited for today. And if you forgot, we're talking about self-care, and Rosanna is a specialist in that because she's a certified hypnotherapist and she's an RTTP practitioner. Did I get that right?
Yes, I'm an RTT practitioner.
Yeah, I was trying to say it slow so that I don't bite my tongue. Yeah, so welcome, Rosanna. You can introduce yourself, and maybe to spill the tea for someone who is new to the podcast. Rosanna is just coming back to the podcast because we had an amazing interview in episode 13, I guess, yeah, when we were talking about the whole aspect of the influence of our environment to our mindset, how we can navigate different things, and we talk respectively about the mindset. And today we are here again with self-care. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Rosanna.
Thank you so much for having me again, Aman.
I'm excited to have this other conversation with you.
Yeah. I think it's really great that, there's been this growing interest in self-care. And some people even call this kind of like a self-care movement that we've been having recently as well. So first, I'm really glad that there's more awareness about this. There's more curiosity about this. And generally what this means is there's more action being taken about it too.
Right. It's good because, how this topic came about is from a comment and from the questions that I constantly get. And I think self-care is one part of self-development, and it's one of the important aspects of self-development, being able to take care of oneself. Now, I think I'm not so sure if it's so different from self-love, but I guess in my knowledge area of my brain, there are two different things. But self-care is one of the most important aspects. And yeah, I thought, why not ask someone who is good at it? Because Rosanna specializes in helping international individuals and experts to overcome anxiety. And not just that, she's a counselor. If you have any issue, any need, you can just head on to www.rosannaho.ca and see the great services that she she does. And yeah, don't miss that part of her personal story, which is attached on the website. So yeah, the intriguing question I have is, what is self-care? Maybe if you care to lead us into that discussion, as what is self-care? Yeah.
Sure. And I think, again, for this part, I want to address what you said just now about the differences between self-love and self-care. And you're saying in your mind it's two separate things. And I also agree with you. And I feel like self-care can be a part of self-love. Oftentimes it is. So what is self-love? I want to talk about, again, the mindset of what these things are and why it's relevant and very important for self-care to be effective, in my opinion. So self-love is this belief that I am enough, I'm worthy, I am valuable, and I'm worthy, therefore, of taking care of myself. I'm worthy of having a good life. I am worthy of having good people in my life, healthy relationships in my life, and a job that I love in my life too. So these are all signs of somebody who you could say has high self-esteem. And what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is what you think of you. So if you think of yourself as someone who is worthy, someone who is valuable, someone who is enough, then by extension, you will treat yourself with self-care.
Right.
And in my practice, oftentimes I'll see clients who have, they'll come to me, and I'll give you an example. So just now, before we were recording, actually, I was telling you just now too, I was seeing a client who'd been suffering from panic attacks for years now, and they were pretty regular panic attacks. This client would get them every other day, basically. And the panic attacks were also quite intense too. And it's amazing. So we'd worked together for just about a month, and the panic attacks have basically gone away now. And the client had had these panic attacks for years and tried all kinds of methods. But, there's these three core beliefs that many of my clients kind of suffer with. And it's these three core beliefs that kind of get to the root of the issue. So the first belief, I would call this kind of like a misbelief, not a true, real belief, is the belief that I am not enough. So for example, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not valuable enough, I am not whatever enough, and I never will be.
Yeah.
And if you have this belief, it's very difficult to, have self-love, right?
Right.
Belief, then, by extension, it's very difficult to look after yourself and feel you're worthy of being cared for too. If you don't think you are enough, in many ways you will actually self-sabotage. So I think, setting this foundation, this powerful mindset for self-care is probably one of the most fundamental, important things you can do, because otherwise you might actually self-sabotage your self-care, which I'll talk about later. So that's the first belief, false belief. The second false belief is that something is not available to me. It might be available to other people, but it is not available to me. So for example, we can think, okay, a healthy, loving relationship is not available to me. A job that I love, a career that I love is not available to me. Wealth is not available to me. Travel is not available to me. Friends are not available to me. It might be available to other people, but for whatever reason, it is not available to me.
Right.
So this is, a very limiting kind of belief. And again, this can impact self-care in some way if you believe, okay, friendships are not available to me. But, friendships are actually very pivotal to having self-care. As humans, we need connections. We need to have friends in our lives, essentially, to look out for us, but also for us to look out for them too. Really have this shared bond and experience. And the final false belief that I just want to talk about quickly is the false belief of I'm different and therefore I cannot connect. So, you might think, oh, I'm different because this great, dark, horrible thing happened to me. No one else has ever gone through this. and this makes me different. And because I've gone through this horrible experience that I can't tell anybody about, I can never connect with anybody because I'm just so strange, so different. I'm not like anybody else. And again, this might sabotage our efforts for self-care because it might make us think, oh, we're not worthy of self-care subconsciously. Maybe not consciously, maybe consciously. And again, this is a false belief, because, if you're afraid that you're different, everybody else has this fear too. Everybody else wants to connect. And by extension of having this fear, that makes you just like everybody else too. And, there's like 7 billion humans on the planet, and the population is steadily growing, but, slower now. But what are the chances, and maybe this is true, but what are the chances of what you went through, nobody else went through, right? It's actually a pretty low chance if you look at the numbers and the number of years we've all been on this planet for.
That's powerful. It's powerful because you then make us understand that there are some things that are just self-created. We let's say we view how others are, and then we tend to directly judge ourselves based on what we observe, and which might not be the reality. But then as time goes by, it becomes our daunting reality. It becomes now a thing that we start saying, yeah, I'm just like this. But originally it started with observation of how others do, maybe their state, their condition, their level, or even their performance, their daily activeness. And then we end up judging ourselves and see, okay, you know what? Maybe that person is better than me, is way off better than me. I'm not that much. Yeah, so that's a good thing. And I'm wondering, this just, you mentioned are some of the myths around this self-care and self-love, being able to see the worthy in oneself. These are some of the few things. But there are other myths that happen, are impacted or influenced by our society, our surroundings. Let's say that myth of practicing self-care is for women, right? Only women are supposed to do that because maybe of how the internet has made it seem. What are the activities of self-care? The internet has made it seem like only do that, this. And maybe people think maybe the benefits of self-care don't last. Like, you might do it now. Let's say you treat yourself to a good, you go to good places, you try to take care of yourself, and we see they think that maybe the benefits won't last. And there are other more myths, which some of them may mean self-care. You have, as I said, the internet also has a hand in this, the modernization of our society, or the advancement of our technology, where in social media you see people practicing self-care. They have to sit in their house, they have to light up candles, they have to do this, they have to, or maybe they have to go to a spa, or they have to go to a bath, or you just have to sleep in your house. I mean, is that really self-care? And does it have only these pillars? Are these real pillars first, or they're just, as I say, some of them are just myths that we tend to build in our mindsets? And I'm wondering, so what is the real way of self-care? How do we go down the road now, start say, this is self-care, being able to accept, as you say, being able to accept oneself and see oneself worthy of all the good things that life can offer, all the good things that God can help us get. So how do we go down that lane of practicing this self-care without sabotaging our thought of what is really self-care? Because I might see how Rosanna is practicing self-care and think that's the right way, and mine is not. Because then we're trying to run away from, that thought of I'm not worthy, mine is not right. And yet when we are practicing the thing itself, now we are seeing, that is the right way. So how do we go about this thing, I'm wondering?
Very, very good question and very, very good observation. Yes,
Uh,
if you just search up self-care, it is a very gendered answer that you'll receive on the internet, right? It's usually women
mm,
who are going to the spa, financially fairly well off, it seems like,
mm, mm.
dressed in trendy clothing, going for a run in a very beautiful scenic area of some big fancy city, for example. And
Right.
I think the first thing I would like to address in this is, first, what is self-care? If we look at it, if we just break it down in its most simple terms, self-care is just the practice of taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's it. It's very simple, actually, but simple does not necessarily mean easy. And, it's a practice. So it's something that you continue to do, and it's something that can be part of your lifestyle, ideally as part of your lifestyle. So for example, Amon, on your channel, you talk a lot about helping people on their fitness journey, right?
Mm,
And I'm sure you're quite familiar with, there's this fad with this diet and you do it for, I don't know, like 21 days and then you'll have abs or something like this, right?
ah,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the fad. It's not necessarily what might be healthy, right? And
right.
it's just kind of like this fast track, this now, let's get this now. But from a more balanced approach of your physical health, it might be finding an exercise that suits you and your body type, you and your lifestyle, you and the time and effort and energy you can put into it. What a student might be able to do might be very different from what a single mother can do, for example.
Right.
The capacity to do. So that is how you can kind of fit physical health into your life. It'll be different for everybody, like how self-care is different for everybody too. And to go back to what you're talking about, how it's a very gendered issue as well. I think this part is very unfortunate for men, actually. So studies have shown that, men generally have a lower life expectancy than women. And part of the reason is because men are socialized to do riskier things and to not look after themselves because it's considered not quote unquote manly enough, right? Yeah. And it's difficult to break this societal conditioning, but what might be a good question to ask is, okay, what is more important? Living longer and healthier and spending more time with people I love, or trying to follow some sort of a social standard that may not be relevant anymore,
Right.
And just because men don't show up as much when we search up self-care, maybe you could be the man, you could be the person who makes a difference and can role model self-care and show that, hey, self-care is a very masculine thing. Looking after your body, getting fit, being able to connect with other people, that could be a positive, healthy model of masculinity that you can help role model and kind of shift the tides bit by bit for what society sees as self-care being for men.
I like that. I like the way you just explained it because I don't think it has to. Self-care doesn't influence masculinity. Doesn't influence your gender role. Doesn't influence your role as a being, as you are created, a lady or a man. It doesn't influence that. And maybe I'm resonating with you by saying that maybe somehow men have taken it out of context. As I said, since maybe the development, the modernization of our society has taken self-care in a different context of the activities that you can do for self-care. And we have all ended up into seeing it as, demonizing it, perhaps, if that's the right word. And seeing, if I do this, how will the society see me? But being able to look good, feel good, smell good, all of these, I think, are essential parts of self-care. You working out when in your day, crafting 1 hour in a day as a gentleman to work, or you trying to dress properly or appropriately, as I may say, to fit certain occasions and to fit certain standards, or you putting some standards about your hygiene, about how you go about your day. This, I think, all of it circulates within the aspect of self-care. Being able to take care of oneself, as you said, being able to take care of oneself without even looking at references, but rather being able to really take care of oneself. Because the first person who knows Iman better, the first person who knows me better is me. Even perhaps my parents, we have lived for some time, and I moved away from my home, from where I was born, from my hometown, and there are some things that perhaps I have evolved, and I only know how to take care of me. Even sometimes our partners miss the points, they miss the aspects, and we have to kind of show them hints or give them even oral narration of what we prefer, what we don't prefer. Why? Because we want them to be able to take care of us, but how are we taking care of ourselves? So yeah, I like that. And it shows on the aspects of the importance. I wonder about the importance of self-care, because then as a guy, as we are saying, we are trying to remove the stereotype, and being able to just advocate for people being able to live long, right? Have a longer, happier, healthier life. Now, I know one fast fact is that self-care can help reduce things like maybe stress, anxiety, and even the levels. And it can even help with increasing self-compassion and so on, being able to have self-compassion. And I'm wondering if there are other benefits of this self-care. Now, for a person listening, maybe they want to crush that mindset of I'm not worthy, or this is not for me, this is for some people, this is for ladies only. How do we start nurturing that mindset of self-care, and by showing the benefits? How do we what are some of the benefits or the importance of self-care?
Yeah, good, very, very good questions. And I think one very powerful thing about self-care is, especially when you first start the journey, when you first start the journey of self-care, it can be overwhelming, actually. You can just search online and even listen to our podcast. It might be a little bit overwhelming, because you hear all these different ideas of what self-care is not, some tips and techniques like journaling, talking with your partner, communicating clearly with your partner, for example, eating healthy, finding an exercise regime that you can practice regularly. If you don't have practice doing this, it can just be a lot in the beginning. So what I want to say is, okay, self-care will look different for everybody.
Right.
And self-care, you might search it up and see someone going to the spa. Okay, that might be self-care for somebody, but maybe that's not self-care for you.
Right.
And you get to define within, certain limits of what is healthy, what is well-being, what self-care is for you. And, if we look at men, another fact about men too is, generally men are kind of socialized and taught to not go to the doctor. So men usually go to the doctor less often, despite the fact that men often take riskier behavior. And, men are also socialized to drink more as well. So, if you just look at these things, one way for men to kind of take back their power and redefine masculinity for themselves is, why don't we just flip it around and do the opposite? So maybe if you want to, go to the doctors more often. Doesn't mean you have to go every time you sneeze a little bit, but before, if you were really resisting to go to the doctor, despite the fact that you felt really, really in pain, Why not step by step just go to the doctor more often? And you might find, oh, hey, actually, I enjoy going to this doctor's office, and I feel really well cared for here. Or actually, no, this doctor and I feel like we're not a good fit. So maybe I'll shop around for another doctor. Actually, finding a healthcare provider who is a good fit for you is another form of self-care, because you're respecting what you need and you're taking action to fulfill that need.
Right.
The other thing too is, men take riskier behavior. So why are you taking this riskier behavior? Is it to impress your friends, or is it to you just haven't asked why and you're just used to doing it because that's how you were socialized to think? Next time, you notice you're doing something riskier, you can just step back and ask why. And just self-reflection. You can journal about it, you can talk about it with friends, you can talk about it with a counselor, you can just think about it and stop yourself. Okay, is it worth doing this riskier behavior? For example, like drinking. Do I really need to drink that often? Is it good for me? Will I feel okay tomorrow? Do I want to deal with another hangover? Again, it's not yes or no, it's not right or wrong, but it's what is the right fit for you. And in the beginning, when you start this journey, a lot of it is actually self-exploration and trying out many different kinds of techniques to see what suits you best for your lifestyle. For example, if you're working out, I want to figure out, okay, what is the best kind of workout regime that suits me best? Maybe I'm really good at yoga. I enjoy it. I can fit it into my day quite regularly. But maybe you hate yoga. Okay, then don't do yoga. Find something that suits you. Maybe it's high intensity interval training, HIIT workouts, right? It's fast, it's effective, it really suits your body type. Okay, do this. But maybe none of those things work. Okay, maybe going to the gym works for you. Maybe it doesn't. So again, it's a different way of kind of trying things out. And the mindset that I think can be helpful for this is, instead of making it seem like self-care is a chore, something else you need to figure out for your life, see it as a form of play. Play with all these different aspects. Play with it and see, okay, this one fits me, so let me keep it in my life. This one does not. All right, I don't need this in my life then.
Very much, yeah. You constantly experiment to find a better option for you. You try to see, which one fits. And actually, that's one of the philosophy we have at OC when we're helping a client, and I, as a personal trainer, when I'm helping a client into their workout routines or into their meal plans, or giving even just advice, I usually tend to ask about the goal. I tend to ask if they have an idea about the body type they are. And because trying to educate someone about the fitness goal that they set, some people just throw stones into the darkness. And because you see a certain body physique online and you want to replicate that physique, perhaps it's possible with some additional, shortcuts, but the essence should be on the goal. What's the goal of you going into the routine or doing the exercises that you want to start, or the journey going down the journey of what you want, the journey that you want to start? Because I cannot lie, let's say in fitness, right, it is a painful activity at some point. It is a painful activity because you're subjecting your muscles to constant rupture and growth, right? It is a painful activity but has a better outcome. If you're doing yoga, it is sometimes a painful activity because, let's say, your body is stiff, but yet you have to release it. Then it increases within a long time. It increases your stability or your flexibility, right? Let's say you decide to do Tai Chi, and within a certain time frame, it will improve your balance, right? Because it's a balance exercise. And so it is important I think also on how to put a goal and define the goal and know that for me to attain that goal, I will take these measures. And not I think you mentioned this even when you were beginning to explain the concept of self-care, without using someone else's ruler. I think you implied to this. We shouldn't try to use someone else's ruler to measure our progress, or to outline our progress, because then what if the other person, their steps are bigger than ours, or their goals are different from ours, or the environment that they exist in is different from ours, the activities that they engage in are different from ours. I think I'm noting that self-care should really mean the word. We should really carry the word self.
Yeah.
Self, and not how to change that word now to others. It shouldn't be others. It should be me. Even if you are a father, you have a spouse, or you are engaged or something, it kind of turns out to be about you. Also about you, not only about the other person, not about what you guys do together, but as you. Just today, I was in one of men's seminar, and I was trying to say that facts show that men have a 30%, only 30% of men actually conducted interviewed in a survey, only 30% have the habit of going to a doctor, and even this is after maybe they have seen things are worse, and now I have to go to a doctor, as you said earlier on. And I feel like these things, some of them should change, because if I want to be a good example to my kids, if I want to be a healthy dad who can carry my kids at any time, then I have to critically and intentionally take care of myself, so as I may be able to take care of others. Because only if I am able to take care of me, I can take care of you. Isn't that right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I kind of touched on answering your question, but here I really want to delve into it more directly, which is, okay, what are some other benefits of self-care, right? And I think first I want to address this misconception that you touched on just now of what self-care is and what it isn't. And it is not selfish. It is not self-indulgence. Many people, they might veer away from self-care because they think, oh, it sounds like why am I spending all this money on myself? Why am I spending all this time and energy on myself? Is it even okay for me to do this, right? And then on the other end of it is self-indulgence, where people will say, oh, okay, today I had a bad day, so I'm going to, just as an example, I'm going to spend a lot of money shopping today as a way to treat myself and feel much better. So that's a form of self-indulgence. Maybe that can be self-care, but maybe it's not, right? Again, it depends on the person, but if you regularly indulge in things that could lead to an unhealthy habit, is that really self-care, or is that actually a form of self-harm? So again, this is why it's important to have this foundation of, I am worthy of self-care. I'm worthy and valuable to spend time, energy, resources taking care of myself in a balanced, healthy way that fits me and my lifestyle.
Right.
And this is where, some of the positive aspects of self-care can really shine. So for example, it really teaches you a lot of self-reflection skills. Oh, okay, this is me. I realized that, spending money on the latest brand of shoes, maybe that's another person's way that's really great to treat themselves every now and then. But actually, I realized I don't care that much about brands. So, another way to treat myself is maybe going on a nice trip, weekend getaway, or maybe just spending time meditating at home is enough for me. Or, just going out, meeting friends and playing in the park, right? So it teaches you a form of self-reflection and self-understanding. The second really powerful benefit of self-care is it teaches you self-compassion. You realize, oh, actually self-care is not a selfish thing. Something you said just now, Iman, was how, in order for me to take care of other people, I need to first be able to take care of myself. And this is the same with management too. In order to better manage other people, as a boss, a manager, leader, etc., I need to know how to manage myself too. So when you're able to have this capacity to take care of yourself, you learn how to take care of yourself. And then you can actually extend these qualities and abilities into taking care of other people too. So for example, if you're able to self-reflect and work on yourself and guide yourself gently and talk to yourself like a friend, it'll become much easier for you to guide gently and talk like a friend to other people who are important in your life, rather than, many of us can have a self-critical voice. So instead of saying, let's say you're trying to go running every single day, and on the 5th day you skip it, and then you say to yourself, oh, I'm so lazy, I'm so stupid, I always fail, I should just give up, I'm not worth it. Would you really talk to your friend this way? I think if you talk to your friend this way, you will not have that friend very soon.
Right.
Why do you talk to yourself this way, right? Instead, you could say, okay, I did a really good job running for the past 4 days. Today, my legs are really sore. I think I need a break. And I'm just going to give myself that break and then hop back on tomorrow. And, I missed a day, but that's okay. I'll just get back on tomorrow. You would say that to a friend, and your friend would really appreciate your understanding, support, encouragement. You say this to yourself, and it's easier to say it to other people.
If you're able to say good things to yourself, then you're able to say good things to others. That's important. If you're still listening, remember the podcast, and today we have Rosanna. And you can just head on to www.rosanna.com. Be plenty of service that she can help you with, especially if you're trying to find a boundary or trying to develop your mindset, if you're trying to deal with some memory, some terrible experiences. Yeah, you can go to our website and hit location call, and hopefully she will help. She will help. Yeah, talking about when I mentioned boundaries and when I was busy, the thought of, you mentioned one thing is critical when you were beginning to explain. You mentioned the benefits. Is that aspect of you say it's different, self-care to selfish. Say one example here, let's say here you miss one day, skip one day, and you try to talk to yourself as to motivate yourself, tell yourself the good words that you would have told a friend. Okay, it's today, but tomorrow we'll get back to it. So today a little bit more pain. And I'm wondering, and a question comes into my head: when do we draw now the line? Where do we find the boundary between this self-care, self-love, self-compassion with these other negative sides of it, let's say selfishness, or anything that is more biased to yourself and you don't care about others? How do we draw this line, this fine line? Because it looks like it is a very, very slim line. You might end now to I might decide to practice self-care. I may end up becoming start practicing self-care and treat myself to good food, and then I'll end up in a behavior of self-indulgence. I might start practicing self-care and go to good places, and it might turn out to be a bad habit, or it might, because everything has the line between bad and good is very thin, and you may move from good to bad very quickly.
Yes.
How do we draw the boundary?
Okay. So very, very good question. And yeah, as you said, it's kind of a thin line that could be easy to cross. So the first thing I want to say again is self-care is a practice, not a perfect. So because it's a practice, every day we practice a form of it, and maybe some days, you achieve this balance, and maybe other days you realize like, oh, okay, that was a bit indulgent. I didn't realize that. So now that I know, I can do better next time. But I think as you learn to listen to your body, have greater self-awareness from, practicing self-care too, you become aware of, okay, I'm getting exhausted, I need to take a break. So this is a form of self-care, not overworking and giving yourself a break, sleeping enough, eating healthy foods, spending time, like a balanced amount of time between work, play, and some time for yourself too. But if we look at the fine line between what can be self-care and what can be selfish or self-indulgent, self-harming, we can think about it in terms of, okay, at what point, do I feel like I'm nourishing my body versus I'm taking away and I'm hurting my body. Yeah, so this one again is a bit harder to, everybody's body and everybody's lifestyle and such are different. But if we look at this analogy between self-care and working out again, right? For some people, running for an hour is incredibly nourishing for them. That's exactly what they need. And that's what helps them kind of reach the next level or maintain their level of fitness. But if you just started running, maybe running 1 hour is actually hurting you. It's too much from the beginning. You're not ready for this, and maybe you end up spraining your ankle because your body just isn't ready for this yet. So yeah, exactly. So, for everybody, again, it's different. And this is, again, why it's a practice and why you need to kind of figure out what is the right fit for you. Because just from self-care, so for example, let's say we can look at sleep. So sleep is a form of self-care. It's very important to get the right amount of sleep for you and to sleep according to the time that works best for you too. And for some people, 6 hours is enough. Other people need 9 hours. But, if you use self-care as kind of your excuse to sleep in and sleep 12 hours a day regularly, you will start to feel the effects. You'll feel fatigued. You'll feel less motivated. The really ironic thing is, if you sleep too much, you actually don't feel more energized. You feel less energized, right? And finding the right fit for what is an appropriate amount of hours of sleep for you will vary per person. And again, that's another kind of self-care, sleeping the right amount for you. And everybody has a different chronotype. So chronotype is your sleep type. Some people are early to bed and early to rise. Other people are late to bed and late to rise too. Again, if you have a full-time job, it might be difficult to find a sleep schedule that fully suits your chronotype. But a lot of people will generally know, oh, I'm naturally an early bird. I'm naturally a night owl. So you want to try to find a sleep schedule that suits your sleep type best. Another example of self-care that is nourishing for you rather than hurting you or taking away. I hope that's helpful and clear enough.
Yes, it does. I think to mention the point that I grabbed is like knowing yourself perfectly, understanding yourself, because then when it is too much and when it is less. And so the line exists in our mind already. We know that this is too much, this is what, and being able to say that, yeah, I messed up today, I'll fix it up tomorrow. Or this is too much, I'm eating too much already, and this is becoming harmful, and being able to promptly stop. So I think also the discipline, as you mentioned, being able to develop a discipline of correction and rectification of mistakes, especially in the journey of trying to practice self-care. And you mentioned something about sleep, which should be a topic of another day. Yeah, we should talk about it, sleeping pattern. Yeah, but I am noting that self-care is a very important aspect in one's life. It's a very important aspect in one's life, but it is subjective. My self-care is not equivalent to someone else's self-care. So each and every one of us, and to the listener, we should know which one is the right fit for us and the people surrounding and the activities and our lifestyle, which one fits our lifestyle. Because if my self-care routine, I enjoy going to the mountains for a hike, I enjoy going to the gym, I enjoy doing outdoor activities in general, I enjoy listening to maybe music or listening to podcasts or listening to other people talk or whatever the thing is. I love sleeping. This is my self-care routine. This is my I love going outside and eating good food once in a while and being able to, just feel refreshed. Or this is mine. We cannot replicate it to be used to someone else, because we are not machines, but rather we are individuals with individual needs. That my needs are not the same with Rosanna's needs. So we have to be very, very specific and very, very disciplined in this aspect of self-care, which discipline is another topic of another time. But yeah, we have to be specific. And one thing I'm noting is like, there's consistency. We should also have consistency. When we start practicing a routine that we know or we believe it is good for us, and especially, I remember earlier on you mentioned that if it is within the acceptable boundaries of, let's say, our society, our lives, right? Because we exist in a society. So if it is within that confinement and it fits our standard, we should be consistent in practicing it, because then in the long run it helps us become better. Isn't that right?
Exactly. Again, self-care is a practice, so we practice this ideally on a daily basis. One very simple form of self-care that hopefully people start learning when they're very young and they continue on into maybe the rest of their lives is just brushing their teeth. That's a very simple form of self-care, and it requires discipline, and it requires education too. So when you first learn to brush your teeth as a kid, you probably don't know how to do it properly, and you need to be educated on how to move the bristles, how long you should brush your teeth for, how much toothpaste you should use, how to floss. And as a kid, maybe you didn't like it, but you learned to do it every single day, and now it's just a built-in habit that you do at least twice a day. And so when you look at self-care, there's certain things that I think are kind of just essential, like getting healthy sleep, eating healthy food, regularly exercising. But there's other ones that are less obvious, but I think are just as essential, which is having time for yourself, actually. And what do you fill that time and space with regarding self-care? Maybe doing an activity that really nourishes you, going swimming, spending time in the park, journaling, meditating, just doing nothing, actually laying in bed and doing nothing. That could actually be very, very recharging for some people. And I think this is where, because it requires some discipline, especially in the beginning, to build this as a habit, and once it becomes a habit, it's much easier to keep this practice going. But to start the discipline, this is why that mindset that we touched on in the beginning is so important. The mindset of I'm worthy of care, I am worthy of a healthier lifestyle, my body is worthy to be looked after, my mindset, my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health are all valuable because I am valuable. And if you truly believe this, it's much easier for you to create and develop this discipline and habit for yourself. But if you don't innately believe this, it could lead to some form of self-sabotage later. So for example, let's say you found a job that you really love, and you're trying to create a more balanced lifestyle for yourself. But if you innately, subconsciously or consciously feel like, hey, I'm not worthy of this very healthy, balanced lifestyle, you might accidentally or purposefully sabotage it and start to work extra hours, so you don't have enough time for self-care. And then, that window of time that you created for your self-care goes away because you replaced it with overworking. Or maybe you're thinking to yourself, okay, self-care for me can be going to the gym and having that me time and doing exercises that I love. But, again, as with a lot of life, it requires balance. And I'm sure you probably encountered people who just spend a lot of time at the gym to the point where it might not be healthy, actually, and it might be.
Right.
And again, that's another way to kind of sabotage self-care if you don't feel like you're worthy of being cared for.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rosanna, for sharing such awesome insights as to how I can improve my self-care routine. And I hope for the listener as well, they have taken a note that self-care is for everyone. It's for everyone, and it varies from person to person, not as to how social media defines self-care, but rather as to how the reality defines self-care. Being able to take care of oneself. That's the literal definition. Being able to take care of myself. That's self-care. And I think that's it from me. You're welcome to connect with our listeners again, and be sure to mention about them coming to your website so that they may get all of these sweet, useful materials again from you, because I believe there are a lot of things that you can help an individual achieve or fight or be good at. So you're welcome, Rosanna, and thank you for being on the podcast today. So you're welcome.
Thank you so much again for having me, Aman. And if anybody wants some free resources such as guided meditations, I also have some handouts on self-care and also how to handle anxiety and stress. Just send me a message on www.rosannaho.ca or send me an email at lets.talk@rosannaho.ca, and I'm more than happy to send those free resources to you. I also offer a free consultation for about 30 minutes. We can just talk, really no need to commit to anything. And I'm more than happy to help in whichever way I can. And again, thank you so much for listening. If you listened this long, I hope it was helpful for you. And thanks again for having me on your channel, Aman.
Awesome. You're welcome. Don't mention it. I am the one to be thankful for you coming to the podcast today again and to share this useful gemstone of self-care. I hope to have another one with you in the future, God willing. But thank you for your time. And to the listener, thank you for tuning in today, for staying to this point, because I think that's long. If you stay to the end, I hope you enjoyed. All right. Have a good day and enjoy your